As the year draws to a close, many of us look back and can't help but feel a sense of time slipping through our fingers. You might be wondering, where did the year go? Or why didn't I achieve all my financial goals? But the good news is that it's not too late to make the most out of this year. Think of these final weeks as the perfect opportunity for a financial reset. So in this video, we're diving into the end of year annual money checklist. I'm going to start with a high-level overview on what you should be aiming for when it comes to your finances, and then go into some of the key areas in more detail. For each of these steps, I'm going to give you some action points to tick off and tell you how long you should be spending on each of these items whilst reviewing it on your checklist. Let's jump straight in with the bigger picture, and that is to evaluate the percentages of your 3 Fs. The 3 Fs, as I've referred to in other videos, are your fundamental costs, your future you costs, and your fun costs. The idea is to go through your spending and sort it into these 3 buckets. The first bucket is the fundamental costs, which ideally should hold 50 to 60% of your net income. That's your income after paying taxes. The lower that percentage for this bucket, the better. Think of this bucket as the essentials for your basic needs, including your expenses like mortgage or rent, utility bills, groceries. If you notice this bucket overflowing, exceeding that 60% mark, it's a sign to look for ways to trim down these expenses. So whether it's putting a spare room on Airbnb if you own your place, or looking for ways to earn more to reduce the proportion of your total net income that are devoted to these fundamental costs. Effectively, managing this first bucket is key. And by keeping it within the recommended limit, you free up more of your budget for the other 2 buckets. The second is the future you bucket. The guideline for this is 10 to 20% of your net income should be going towards this. This is the money you're spending on savings and investments, and you can allocate it differently depending on what your priority is. But the more you could allocate towards this bucket, the better. If you're not getting to the lower end of this range, think about what changes you can make to hit that 10%. Finally, we have the fun bucket. This is where all your fun spending goes. Subscriptions, dining out, leisure or entertainment. The recommended guideline for this bucket is 20 to 30% of your net income. If you're spending beyond this limit, it might be time to reassess. Can you cut back on, for example, any of the subscriptions you use? Are there less expensive ways to enjoy your leisure time? So, action point, check your spending and percentages for each of these buckets and decide how you're going to make changes to stay within those recommended guidelines or do better. Time allocated to spend on this, 3 hours of focused energy. The tracker that I use to do this is linked below, completely for free, super easy to use. Most of my spending is already categorized through the bank accounts that I use, and then I consolidate it using that tracker. One of the accounts that I use to categorize my spending since 2016 is Revolut, who I'm very excited to say are sponsoring today's video. Revolut has helped me stay on track with my goals and my spending, but it's also helped you maximize the amount of value I get from the spending in my fun bucket, particularly when it comes to travel. It's a no-brainer. You can withdraw money from 55,000 in-network ATMs for no fee. And if you want to exchange currency, then the FX fees as well are very low. I have the personal account. I've had this for years, and I now also use the business account. I've got the premium plan because it includes travel insurance, discounted airport lounge access, discounted international money transfers, and also cashback for so many other things that I already pay for, like Notion and Squarespace. Revolut is available in the US, in the UK, as well as a bunch of other countries. You can check if it's available for you using the link below, and the benefits go way beyond just travel. If you're in the US, you can be a non-resident as well and still access all the benefits. If you want to check it out, link is in the description. Now, working our way down the checklist. Next, second, review the size and the location of your solution fund. One of the first things to do in personal finance, and the thing to set up before you look at doing anything else, is to build an emergency fund or a solution fund, which is what I've seen it referred to as recently. It's essentially a safety net in case anything goes wrong and you have any unexpected expenses. You have a health scare, you lose your job, but this gives you that peace of mind that you can deal with the situation without going into debt. The aim is to have 3 to 6 months of your living expenses saved in your emergency fund if you are employed, and 6 to 9 months of your living expenses if you're self-employed. So action point is firstly, reflect on your emergency fund. Are you halfway there? Are you just starting out? If you're building it up, how much are you going to save every month to build it to the amount that you want it to be? And secondly, where are you saving your emergency fund? Make sure it's saved in an account which is easy to access, but you're also making interest on. Time to spend to complete this exercise, maximum 30 minutes. This doesn't take too long. Number 3, negotiate your bills down. Most companies offer competitive introductory rates, and then they increase those rates after the first year or two. So you may have signed up for example, a specific car insurance because it was the cheapest at the time, but then fast forward 2 years and now you're paying more than the average. Many people don't realize that they can often negotiate their bills down. So action point here is to contact your service providers. So this includes your mobile contract, broadband service, car insurance, bank fees. Check that you're actually getting the best value for what you're paying. If not, ask to lower them, see if there are any promotions, discounts, or cheaper plans available. Also, look for bundling options. Sometimes combining services like internet, cable, phone all together in one is cheaper than having it separately. Next, we have optimize your investments. If you aren't investing at least 5%, it's worth finding money from somewhere else, whether it's in your fund bucket that we spoke about earlier, or from negotiating your bills down that we just spoke about, and reallocating it to your investments. So action points: confirm you're contributing to your pension scheme, whether it's a 401k if you're in the US, a workplace pension, or a SIP if you're in the UK, and make sure that money is being invested. Secondly, make sure you're utilizing other tax-free accounts. Again, like the Roth IRA if you're in the US, or ISA if you're in the UK. If you're in the UK, the real year end that matters is the 5th of April, as that's the end of the tax year. But you don't want to wait until this date because you want to make sure you're on track to utilize the allowance that you get every single year. If you don't use this year's allowance, you lose it. So whether it's your lifetime ISA, cash ISA, stocks and shares ISA, check whether you're on track to max it out if that's the right financial decision that makes the most sense based on your tax bracket. And third, for the tax advantage investment accounts, don't just send your money into these accounts, but actually make sure that that money is getting invested. A lot of people make the mistake of thinking that they're investing just because they're putting money into their investment account. But you want to make sure that that money is also then being invested from that account or from that wrapper into the right funds as well. This section takes some research, focused hours, 3 to 4 hours to complete. Next on the checklist is your credit cards. The way I see credit cards is that they're a vehicle to spend money that I already have in a way that gets me benefits and gets me rewards. If you don't have the money for it in cash or in a bank account, then you shouldn't be buying that thing on a credit card. Couple of things you want to think about here and action points for you to tick off. First, understand your spending. So based on what we did in the first exercise with the 3 buckets, understand where your spending habits are. Different cards offer different rewards. So some are good for groceries, whilst others are good for travel or dining out. Check the reward programs of your current cards and see if they're aligned with your spending. Also, if you have a good track record, you can get some extra benefits. Your credit cards can waive their fees. You can get access to special offers. So definitely worth calling up your credit card company to see what they can offer. I was really good with maximizing my credit card usage, and I earned points to get a companion voucher with British Airways. And then I didn't use it in time and the points expired. Make a plan to use your credit card points, review what you have, and use them before they expire. Combined time it will take to complete the checkpoints in this category, 1 hour. Next, debt. Firstly, audit your debt payoff plan. Depending on whether you're going for the avalanche debt repayment plan or the snowball debt repayment plan, check, are you on track? Is there anything you can do to pay off your debt sooner? Secondly, try and negotiate your debt interest. Again, most people don't know that you can do this, but if you have a good track record already and a good credit score, you can negotiate your APR. Step 3, check your credit report. Once a year, you want to check your credit report and make sure everything is accurate and there are no mistakes on them, as this can have a knock-on impact on how much you pay for your credit cards, for your loan, for your mortgages. And it's really not worth passing up on the hour it takes to go through your credit report and check if there's any mistakes and to fix those straight away. And then protecting you and your wealth. Look at your insurance needs and check you have the right insurance in place. Whether it's life insurance, health insurance, mortgage or renter's insurance, check that you have the right one in place for your situation. And the second checklist in this category is to think about creating a will if you have dependents. So that's the checklist you can work your way through to make sure this year isn't a complete write-off and you've got a clear plan on where you're headed towards next year. I do this every December to keep myself on track. If you enjoy it or if you know someone who benefit from it, please share it with them. And again, the link for the tracker that I use and for Revolut, if you want to check it out, can be both found in the description. See you next week.